Curtis, too, was last seen playing with his dog and a 25-year-old man named Gary who was staying at their home before he was reported missing on November 5th, 1980. Curtis's mother would tell investigators that she had asked Gary to keep an eye on Curtis while she ran some errands, and when she came back, Curtis was gone. Initially, authorities believed that he had fell in the nearby Indian Creek, but no body was ever recovered and his case remains unsolved. We are in our 24th week and we are in Idaho. There is little information in Curtis Fair's case available online, so I dove into the archives and I found an article from Idaho in November 19th, 1980 that goes into a little more detail into Curtis's case. According to this article, Gary, who was staying at Curtis's home with his mother, Tony Jo, was the last to see Curtis before he vanished. The article doesn't explain Gary's relationship to Tony, Joe, or Curtis. It just states that Gary had been living at the child's home for some time on November 5th. This article recounts that on November 5th, 1980, Tony, Joe, and Gary were out in the yard playing with Curtis around 12:30 p.m. that day. At 1:40 p.m., Tony Jo would phone police and report her son missing. She told investigators that she had asked Gary to watch her child while she left to run some errands, but Gary told investigators he never heard Tony Jo ask him to watch Curtis, and therefore the boy ended up being left alone outside. Investigators would coordinate search efforts with the Canyon County Waterway Department, Civil Air Patrol pilots, Sheriff's Office, and numerous volunteers in searching buildings, schools, parks, stores, houses, and the nearby Indian Creek and fields in hopes of finding Curtis. Investigators do believe it was possible that Curtis fell into the creek since his dog came home soaking wet later that night. The creek was about 1.5 blocks from Curtis's home. The creek can range anywhere from 2 feet deep in some places to 10 feet deep. Divers were sent into the creek, but no body was ever recovered, and there has been no trace of Curtis. There was a man who lived in the neighborhood at the time, and he told investigators he saw Curtis along the creek bank about 1.5 hours before he was reported missing. Beyond that, there aren't any other reported witness sightings of Curtis. A little over a week after Curtis went missing, investigators did arrest Gary on charges of petty larceny and battery, and he would be questioned about the events leading up to Curtis's disappearance and given a lie detector test. The detective at the time, Detective Dalton, would tell reporters that the polygraph given to Gary at the time did not implicate Gary as a suspect in Curtis's disappearance. There is not much more information out there about the investigation into Curtis's case and no new updates. His case is currently classified as a non-family abduction and remains unsolved. When Curtis was last seen, he was 2 years old, about 2 feet tall, around 35 pounds, and was described as a Caucasian male with blonde to light brown hair and green eyes. Curtis has a 1/2-inch scar under his chin and a 2.5 to 3-inch scar running vertically up the small of his back. He was last seen wearing a blue hooded sweatshirt, blue pants,